When people ask us for a recommendation for an electric vehicle, meanwhile there's good choice in the larger segments, larger batteries and also higher prices. But what about the electric vehicles that are a little bit cheaper and that are also smaller, more compact, more suitable for a wider audience? Well, so far it's a little bit tricky, but might this one here be now one of the hot choices? This is here the new Skoda Epiq, sister or brother to the VW ID Cross, which will also be coming up, and also, so to speak, an electric version of the Skoda Kamiq. This one here, the Epiq, still in the camouflage paint, but today we can already tell you all about facts and figures, battery, range estimation. We can already drive it for you. We can tell you everything about the interior, even though we cannot show you everything yet, but all packed full of information. Everything you need to know about this one here with Thomas Nautical in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go. The front, there will be a new Skoda design language. This will be here the sensor plate, front camera here as well. In the lower part you can see these are these large gaps, and there will be the non-painted bumper, like with an off-road look. So you can also easily replace it when there are some scratches and so on. There will be optional matrix LED. Here's in the lower part, daytime running light, then in the top part as for that. And I can also tell you under the hood, there will also be a frunk. This is a difference to the ID Polo or the Cupra Raval, the smaller cars on this very new platform. But here the bigger ones, the ID Cross and the Skoda Epiq, will get a frunk, a small one that you can house a cable. Well, this camouflage paint that Skoda has taken here, it refers to like a marketing spot they will launch soon. And I think it's supposed to be Bugs Bunny car or something like that. I was not sure at first that they were serious about making this wrap, but yeah, you can feel free to paint the comments about this camouflage paint. Then here in the wheel choices, these are 18-inch. It starts with 17, then 18, 19, and later on we can also expect even 20-inch wheels for special sporty models like the expected Sportline as well. But at this moment then 18-inch is maybe also a good compromise. There will of course be different stylings available. Then the length here is 4 meters 17 or 164 inches. So really compact dimensions that also fits in the city surrounding and so on. There will also be this new design cue that they have a large pillar right here. Almost like a VW Golf typical design, let's take it that way. And you can already see here, these are classic door handles. And I really appreciate that they just go for these classic normal door handles, because we don't need anything else. You might remember that from the MEB platform, like the VW ID3, the Cupra Born, but also the bigger ones, Skoda Elroq, Skoda Enyaq, VW ID4 and so on, they all use rear-wheel drive and optional all-wheel drive models. Here you always have front-wheel drive only. That's the new platform. Why is that? So they put all electric stuff in the front, the electric motor, also the charging, which is on the other side, so more about that. And then the rear basically is left blank, and they also intentionally use a torsion beam in the rear. It's like the rear axle torsion beam, which might not be the best for comfort on the one hand. On the other hand, it leaves space then for the trunk. And we will have a large trunk that goes really deep, soon going to show that to you. So it's always about like pro and con when we talk about this. Then the rear will have a new design language also, like with the new styling of the tail lamps. You can see it here in this kind of T form. We also recently saw it in this new Skoda concept vehicle. We have already presented to you that it will have like similar lights as for that. Also, we have these indentations in the lower part then in the final version. This one is left here like this because there is the towing behind it. In the final version, however, you cannot see the differentiation between the towing placement and the rest of it. I think design-wise it will work very well, because it's not screaming out too much. Yeah, besides this wrap here, you know. It's funny, like the car is not screaming out, you know, when it will have the final paint and so on. So I think just design-wise and from the packaging, it will be a very, very hot competitor here in the compact small EV segment. And why else is that? Let's talk about the facts and figures in the battery. We can also move over to the charging flap there as well. So there will be the entry level battery, 38.5 kilowatt hours, LFP. First time then they will also use the LFP in the Volkswagen group. It still might be a little bit small if you take it like as a first primary vehicle. And also the smaller battery will charge a little bit slower, about 28 minutes, 10 to 80% state of charge, and two different outputs. For the power output, you can also check out the data comment and also in the video description where we have all the facts and figures listed. Then, even more important, the bigger battery, which is also placed in this car, 55 kilowatt hours net. This is an NMC chemistry, so they're both almost at the same weight. And the NMC battery charges a little bit quicker, although it's larger. In this one, about 23 minutes, 10 to 80% state of charge. The charging flap is here in the front right. AC and DC charging, 11 kilowatt AC and 133 kilowatt DC is that peak. And as my first estimation before driving it, if you drive like Autobahn and reasonable speeds, 300 kilometers or 190 miles, something like that. It is rated in the WLTP figure, which is always with a lower speed, at something over 400 kilometers or 250 miles. So just to give you the first estimation here, and most people will probably get the bigger battery. And already about the pricing. So the aim both for the Skoda Epiq and for the VW ID Cross is to let the small battery version start below 30,000 euros. Most naturally, the bigger battery version, together then with, let's say, higher equipment, and if you go for some options and so on, will be then more closer towards 40,000. So a realistically spec'd one will then be somewhat between 30 and 40,000 euros, something like that. We have to see about the final prices, of course, very soon. And we can also now show you some of the first interior clues as for that. One more comment here about the naming Epiq with Q. They have named all their SUVs with the Q to make it somehow different and unique, and also don't have any problems with like copyright branding and so on. However, here the problem is when you say Epiq, everyone probably will search for Epiq with C, like in oh, that's Epiq, yeah. So maybe I'll also write Epiq like as a in brackets in the video title. Maybe should we do that? And a couple of more interesting things for you. Look at that. This is a disc brake in the front-wheel drive, as I said. And if we now come closer here towards the rear, we can also see this is here a disc brake in the rear. And you might remember from the so far MEB platform vehicles, also like ID3 and ID4, Skoda Enyaq, Skoda Elroq. So the Elroq is a little bit bigger than this one, and the Enyaq is bigger than the Elroq at Skoda. They have drum brakes at the rear. Why is that? They are rear-wheel drive or optional all-wheel drive. And then the case is actually when you use recuperation, they also use it at the rear axle, and then the disc brakes would hardly be used. So they put drum brakes then that there's no corrosion at the disc brake. Now here it's kind of different. Here you only have the front-wheel drive, and then there would be no recuperation at the rear axle. Yeah, and that's kind of like a thing you need it for stability, that you also have some braking at the rear axle to make the car stable also in braking situations. And so here, since there is no recuperation at the rear axle, they always will use the disc brakes. And then again, it's no problem for corrosion and so on. And they also said customers do appreciate the disc brakes. They also have better braking performance. So at the end of the day, they went then for disc brakes on both axle and all four wheels, and I think customers will also be happy with that choice. One of the arguments to go rear-wheel drive with the older models was that you have a better turning circle. It's true, you can move better with the wheels than in the front. However, this one is still here at a good turning circle, here at 10.25 or 10.15? Let me be really exact. Oh, it's actually 10.15 meters, the turning circle. So that's still actually pretty decent. And top speed is at 160 kilometers an hour, 100 miles per hour here for the big battery version with the larger power output, and 7.4 seconds in the acceleration figure. Acceleration is slower with the smaller battery, and there's also like not only a slower acceleration, but also a little bit less top speed than at 150 kilometers an hour for the smaller battery. And now it started to rain, so yeah, we are seeking cover. But what can you do when it's starting to rain? Skoda here gets the integrated umbrella at the inside of the doors. By the way, here under the hood, you will also get the funnel, like this integrated funnel to easier fill up the wiper fluids, the passenger door.
Oh no.
There's like
I think they could leave their hole, right?
Yeah. I mean, it could be done, but somehow they didn't. And then there's the third so-called simply clever feature. Here. There we go, the ice scraper.
It's nice.
Yeah. And now first details about the interior. We are not allowed to show you yet all of the cockpit. This is off limits for now. This will be then something for the world premiere. Yeah, these are sometimes the communication strategies of the manufacturers, but we try to show you as much as possible. I can tell you all I need to know so far. What is actually quite cool is that we have nice comfortable seats with good shoulder support. So even if you're a tall adult, it's a good comfortable seating position. 189 stays for two, enough headroom left. That's actually nice. Good position also, steering wheel up and down, in and out. This is then manual, but everything feels and looks quite solid. This here mid-trim level vehicle. Base trim would be studio, black fabric seats. Then loft mid-trim here, either the seats in gray fabric or a mint-alike color. This is then also, and in this middle trim you also get some leather red-alike applications at the like the cover here for the cubby hole. Inside of the doors is also really nice and soft. This feels really cool, like a new exclusive material, so to speak, a new developed material. Also some of that at the dashboard. And the top trim is called Sweet. And this one, not sweet as for candy sweet, but sweet in S-U-I-T-E, sweet. That one will have microfiber on the inside and in blue navy tone and some brownish leatherette applications at the side. Later on, I would also expect a black microfiber if the colored one is nothing for you. Once again, when there will possibly be a Sportline interior. But good seating choice, and the whole car is animal free. They go with technology, and the most modern technology as for durability, sustainability, and also animal welfare is to make it animal free. And here, even the steering wheel has a nice soft leatherette touch, for example. And if you're skeptic about the durability, Skoda has done the same durability testing for this material, and they were surprised themselves that this material is more durable in their standard tests than the animal skin alternative. That's very interesting, good to know. And it is not cheaper at all for Skoda to do that. They really do it intentionally because it is now the best technology. Luxury yachts, like the most expensive boats for millions of euros for the billionaires, they also only use leatherette, by the way, because it's the best in the current technology. If you use good quality, you need to have good quality always. And sometimes the quality is not good, and that's why, some people are not trusting in these materials yet. But you always need good material quality, and then it's also really nice. So I'm happy with the cockpit here. The only thing I'm not so happy with is we will not have climate unit dials in a physical way. This will be done in the screen. There will, however, be some buttons at the steering wheel, also in the middle dashboard and so on, but not for the climate in the screen. That's maybe the only thing I'm missing right here. And also going full circle, the whole seating materials in every trim is also 100% recycling. And to show you some variation, this vehicle here has the panoramic glass roof. So there's one without, and with one. It is fixed, you cannot open it. And at the moment there's the wrap from the outside as well. What you can do is when there's really a lot of sun, then you have this electric shade you can close, that it's not so warm then in the vehicle. And you see here also has then in this case still the same nice bright fabric from the inside. Then to the rear seats, this is here hard pack in the top part, a little bit structured, but the soft, this leatherette-alike surface here once again, hard in the lower part. And I can already tell you something more about the space here. I mean, it's a short vehicle. it still somewhat works for 5 tall adults. Here it gets close with the knees when I'm driving as a tall passenger. But you see here, the focus was not like the rear legroom. The focus is more than that you have more trunk. It still somewhat works, but that's what you can expect than here. I would have guessed that it's maybe a little bit more in the SUV in comparison to the Polo. So I would have wished a little bit more legroom. And then here, headroom is 189.62, there's no problem. Also the nice bright seating here and so on. And overall, I mean,
Comfortable.
which I think is okay. I mean, since you have the SUV here, the battery in the lower floor, you still see my feet are also still quite relatively high, but it's not as high as it would be maybe like in an electric sedan or something like that. So yeah, the focus is not the rear bench here, it's rather for children. We also have ISOFIX here, for example.
But from the surface, it's good.
Surface is good actually, like the fabric and so on. And as I said, there will be different surfaces like the fabric, the one fabric, then the base fabric, and also then optional the microfiber, which is probably like the coolest option in here. But so far, and also when I fold down stuff like this, also feels pretty solid. Now very exciting to the trunk or the boot. Here the manual opening, why not? And you also have this standard here, this grab handle here. We know that from Skoda combustion engine models as well, that you can also easily close it like this again when it's like maybe like the outside is dirty or something. And yeah, what do you think about this Bugs Bunny camouflage exterior? Yeah, there we go. This one also fits in underneath vertically, the trolley. Then we have a good meter or 40 inches in the width. The normal length is here 29 inches or 73 centimeters. There can also be this charging cable box in the rear. But it's not really necessary because you will also have a frunk, which I unfortunately cannot show you today because the frunk is not finished yet. That's why, you know, they don't have it in there yet, but it will be for the production version. And the even most interesting part is here underneath. So you can take a look underneath. There's like a lot of space underneath. You can also have these splitters here, by the way. Then you can cage in some stuff here like this. So this is the most important part here, I feel. And you can either have it like this to store something underneath, or you can move it to the lower level, like, there we go. So like this, lower level, and then you also have even more height. I can show that to you in the measurement. So then you have here a height of 34 inches or 85 centimeters. That's pretty cool, but it can be even more than that because you could also completely remove it. And then we have a tire repair kit there, and this is the subwoofer. So without subwoofer, if you don't go for the Canton sound system, you would have even more space in here, and overall it's 475 liters. And this is then even a height of 45 inches or 1 meters 14. And I'm seeing some plant transport from IKEA coming up here, if we have this one at home at some point maybe. Right, yeah, Leah knows. So this is very well usable. Then you can of course also fold the seats. And then let's fold this stuff around here. Also on the other side, give you the, this is also like some hooks there for the top tethers. You can also use them. And then I think it's more clever to put this one in again and to see also how it will adjust right there. So if it's in the lower part, right here, there we go, then it still has like somewhat of a transition, so that works. But of course for loading things through, you might want to put it like this again. Yeah, there we go. This looks nice. And where's the ruler now?
Me?
Ah! Yeah, oh man, it's so spacious that you even forget your things there.
That's Easter egg.
Yeah, that's the Easter egg, literally. And here, then you have a total length of 54 inches or 1 meters 58. So, yeah, I mean, that's very well usable. That's the cool thing about this vehicle. It's not too long in the exterior dimensions, but you can do a lot with the loading area. Now we start driving the Skoda Epiq in and around Porto and Portugal. Here, by the way, normal brakes for the stop sign is actually necessary. You can set the recuperation levels. There are actually 2 levels available. First of all, standard. Let's see how standard reacts. So standard is like this. hardly any recuperation. And then you can also set it here to, let's see, recuperation then high. Don't have any pedals here or so on where I have to adjust that. It can only be possible then here in the infotainment system, and here high. Even that is not really strong. But important, as a quick info in between, there is a possibility to have more recuperation here. You just switch it here in the very front. So this shifting lever, you can switch between D and B. And if you're actually in the B mode, it does stop until 0. So this is a true one pedal driving here, going downhill. And even when I'm going downhill here, stops until 0 and with hard recuperation. As I said, in the interior part, the good seating comfort is really helpful, especially because you have this shoulder support in the top part that takes weight off your lower back. It's a very agile city car, nice steering. It's not super light. You can also set it in the sport mode a little bit harder than. As I said, a nice high quality seat and also steering wheel material. And to steer is very likable because there's no dead zone area. You have good reactions from the steering wheel as for that. And you feel like you would be driving, let's say, a somewhat sporty vehicle. Why? Lower center of gravity. That helps, although it's of course heavy for a small car due to the battery. The battery is almost at 300 kilograms in both cases. That's normal then, for these kind of electric vehicles. But still, it feels really sporty. We have already driven the VW Polo in a super agile way, and this is the same platform, and the same will also...
People are like, what the fuck is this?
They're like, yeah.
Because we have the special...
Yeah, the Bugs Bunny Easter eggs paint. And they're like, whoa, what is going on here? So
is it for Easter?
Yeah, I don't see it when I'm sitting in the vehicle, so I wasn't really aware of that. But people are looking like, what? Yeah, that will probably be my reaction also as well when I see it from from the exterior. Also here, how the throttle is being applied, or the let's say accelerator pedal. Here's like a more narrow city surrounding and so on. We'll also soon drive a little bit quicker. We can also give you like the first real range estimations and so on, but it feels really agile and quick in the city. So
it's a perfect use case for this car.
Yeah, it's perfect use case, indeed. Leah's absolutely right. It's a lot of fun to drive it around. It's spontaneous in the acceleration.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's good. Good. 7.4 seconds in the acceleration figure. And yeah, maybe I can drive a little bit more agile quite soon, because that's always the thing, especially with the electric vehicles. So sometimes she says that she's not feeling so well, when you're a passenger and then you're throwing around this electric vehicle with the battery in the corners and so on. So let's see about that later on. But so far, she seems well. Yeah. So that's a good sign. And I already had it in the VW Polo that it feels sportier than it actually looks.
And you didn't drive that one, right?
No, that was you weren't with that event actually. But that's the same here. He has a similar driving feeling. It's the same platform. Yes, you sit a little bit higher here, but it's really astonishingly agile. That's so much fun to drive it here around, and even in the city. That's the cool thing about this vehicle. You're not so high in the price in comparison to maybe other electric vehicles, and you already have a lot of fun. At the same time, I would not say that you lose driving fun with going with the SUV version of this one here. So I'm really enjoying just the city drive of this one, and everything comes so effortless as for that. 18-inch wheels we have here. So yeah, driving through these potholes is fine. There is no special suspension technology behind this one here. You also heard that we have the torsion beam in the rear, which then again gives us more space in the trunk area. But so far, I don't feel much negative effect from that. I would say suspension feeling and comfort is fine. It feels like it is everything like a rounded package. This car feels complete. It feels like they have thought this thing through. Rear-wheel drive is of course always fun. We have that in the ID.3 or the Cupra Raval and in the Skoda Epiq and in the Skoda Epiq and so on. But you can easily also live with that front-wheel drive here. Of course, at some point when you're like, let's say it's raining and you hammer the throttle completely, then again, maybe it's...
The kid was like, oh my god.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, the kids probably love this this exterior paint. So yeah, maybe at some point you will then feel the difference between front-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive. Rear-wheel drive will always be more fun, I feel. But however, because this platform here is, please, as if you could hear me, right? Yeah. So here we go. It's so much fun to drive, and I'm not really missing the rear drive that much because the car itself feels so extremely agile. That's the cool thing here about, let's say, already starting here with the city drive. Now we do some motorway. Click the lower button, go to the sport mode for the acceleration, starting on 40 kilometers an hour. Let's do 40 till 90. Let's go. Oh, that's it. Woo! Gotta say though,
What
maybe,
was that?
yeah, maybe that's the thing about the front wheel drive. It is powerful already from the acceleration, but that is a difference to where we would be accelerating with the rear wheel drive. And I also felt that would be more, with Polar I think it was a little bit more stable. Not sure if it's like the application for that, but definitely one of the downsides from having the front wheel drive only. So yeah, gotta be in control of your steering there, definitely. So yeah, but the acceleration itself is really good, very quick. Also accelerating onto the motorway. Here, let's see if we can drive a little bit quicker also. So here about 90 kilometers an hour. So far, also not too loud. Won't be the most silent vehicle on the road, I guess. Maybe at a later stage we can also drive on the German Autobahn then at even higher speeds. Here also probably a little bit more. I think speed unlock is coming soon there. From wind noise, I think it's okay. But from the front windshield, it's could be a little more silent, right?
Yeah.
I think, yeah. I think so too. So the first time I have this one here also on the motorway, this platform. With the Polo, it was more like countryside driving and so on. So then suspension again is really stable, feels good, calm and collected. And let's also see if we can do a lane change then from left to the right. Let's see how it behaves here at just about like 90 kilometers an hour, 50 miles an hour. Yeah, really nice. So once again, the driving agility is the best thing about this car. It feels really calm and collected, centered. A little bit of wind squeaking here from the side mirror. Could also be related to the rev as well. Not sure about that. But yeah, indeed, on the motorway, I would have wished that it's maybe a little bit more silent from the front windshield area. The tarmac itself here, however, is also quite rough. It always depends also which tarmac you are actually driving on. On the positive note, once again, how settled it feels here also on the motorway. And then even when you're at 90 or 100 kilometers an hour, there's still something coming from the acceleration, you know, so you always have a good power reserve as well. And also here, so much fun to drive. Yeah, Leah, at some point also like, you're driving like crazy.
You're driving too fast.
You're driving, yeah, like know me, like you're driving too fast, Yeah, I think it is really tempting because the power is always there. The car feels so agile that you kind of like always a little bit tempted to drive somewhat even a little bit crazier. And also interesting here, activate the travel assist now. So it's not only keeping the distance, but also keeping the car in the lane. And so far, very smooth application. Travel assist 3.0 means here also with semi-autonomous lane change here. The car did that itself basically, I just initiated that. So travel assist, assistance systems, next level. There's also blind spot monitor projected into the side mirrors. And it can even stop at the red traffic light or at the stop sign inside the city. And while the seagulls here next to us in that beautiful pool there are living their best lives, we can talk about the consumption data and the real world range. So first we did like a city consumption, so only driving in and around the city, and that is of course naturally very low. It's also nice mild temperatures for EVs today. That one was about 12 kilowatt hours on 1 kilometer, so that's like 5 miles per kilowatt hour. That would actually mean, if we calculate it, it's about a city driving range of 460 kilometers for the big battery. So that would be some 300 miles. Then what we could test today, driving motorway, but it's more like a city-ish motorway here in Porto. You cannot drive too fast. The average speed was 85 kilometers an hour, so about 50 miles an hour. That one gave us a consumption of 16 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers. And that is about 3.8 miles per kilowatt hour. That would mean a real-world range as for this speed of about 340 kilometers. So that's about 210 miles. And then my earlier estimate will probably be also quite close if you drive like more like 100, 110, 120 kilometers an hour, that we then go towards 300 kilometers or 190 miles in the real world range. So always depends, of course, on the speed, but that you can get like a first estimate of that. Quick recap if you didn't hear the pricing scheme. The aim was for the ID Cross and also for the Skoda Epiq to start below 30,000 euros with a small battery, and then in the mid 30,000 somewhat range with big battery and some more equipment. I hope they don't crash the 40,000 euro barrier, but that might be when you go big battery and the fullest equipment. This one here is a mid-trim vehicle here, by the way, and the inside as we showed to you earlier. So this might be then realistic as for my estimation. And the thing is that it will work very well in the exterior, I can promise. We're soon going to show you the final vehicle. The interior quality is also pretty decent. All animal-free interiors, also good materials, and there's a good usage of space. You have a lot of space in this vehicle here, and my prediction is that there will be like the ID Polo and the Cupra Raval as the normal small hatches, and then there will be the Skoda Epiq and the VW ID Cross as the small or compact SUVs in this electric segment, and they will be sold more often than the smaller small hatch counterparts. Why is that? You can do more with this vehicle. You have more space on the inside, and also this SUV scheme makes more sense in the electric vehicle segment because you have to put the battery underneath and your feet are also standing better inside the vehicle. So this could be a very good seller here for this segment here. And we of course keep you updated as soon as we can show more to you. But I think all the facts and figures are already quite clear right now. And I think you should now compare the VW ID Cross. We made the first preview of that. Or if you're also interested in the VW Polo, the new ID Polo.